The Tommy Boyd Breakfast Show
on Original 106.
We found ourselves talking about food prices and noticed that bread, for example, is an awful lot cheaper in this country than it is just about anywhere else on earth. And I found myself saying this is one of the things that supermarkets don't ever get credit for. That drew a couple of texts disagreeing with me. We found an organisation which seems to be dedicated just to sort of overthrowing Tesco's, which is called something like Tescopoly. Website all done out in look-alike Tesco logos and colours and everything. And Vicky Hurd's on the line from Tescopoly. Hello, Vicky.
Hello, hi, Tommy. I'm actually from Friends of the Earth, one of the founder organisations of Tescopoly.
Okay. The things that supermarkets do that are bad are probably not in dispute. Mm-hmm. But the things that they do that have benefited us all very rarely get any publicity.
Well, they give themselves publicity, and they get all the credit by getting people through their doors, I guess, so they don't really need it. Obviously, people have been going into supermarkets for in their droves for the last few decades, and that's the credit that supermarkets really need. That's what they want. What we're concerned about, and why we set up Tescopoly, is the fact that we're not really controlling the bad things that are happening as a result of the growth of supermarkets. The regulations and the kind of policies at the local level and the national level aren't kicking in to control and to make a check on some of those problems that you said are recognised to a certain extent.
Yeah, this is the thing. They're well known, and you're going to repeat them again in just a second, and we're still going to go to the supermarket, but the difference is, thanks to you, we're going to feel bad about the experience. We're not going to change anything. That's for governments and big business, and to a lesser extent, but still to an extent, organisations such as yourselves. But wouldn't it be nice to just remind ourselves that supermarkets, for example, have liberated armies of women from the tyranny of the daily shop, which only 30 or 40 years ago was probably the biggest yoke around the neck of what we used to call housewives. And thanks to supermarkets and the convenience and the fact you can get your car right in and do a weekly shop, this is part of the reason why lots of women are able to enjoy careers.
Fighting to maintain a diversity.
Let me tell you something, if I may, Vicky, because you're young and you are principled and you're idealistic, and I love that, and we all were that once. But let me tell you a fact, all right, and I will hang my hat on this. In 100 years' time, Friends of the Earth, if you're still around, and you probably will be campaigning to protect our supermarkets.
Oh, no.
Against whatever comes along to take them away.
Tommy,
trust me, and there's two reasons for this, okay? One, because it is the inexorable march of nostalgia, which always has us remembering things being better than they were.
What we're trying to do is protect farmers and protect the environment.
Why do farmers always get protected? Why don't we protect postmen, and why don't we protect...
I'd like to protect postmen.
In the same way.
They're not directly related to the farmed environment, which is 70% of the land in the UK. And they're struggling, they're squeezed by the supermarket, by
Everybody's struggling. Postmen are struggling. We're all struggling.
Yeah, but they're not
There's a credit crunch on.
Friends of the Earth is an environmental organisation. I'm sorry about that, but if that's what we're concerned with, I'd love to be campaigning on post office, because I think that's an important part of community life, which is what we're talking about as well. But the farmland globally is suffering as a result of the squeeze on prices, the huge downward trend in prices that supermarkets and the food corporations like, because it gives them the raw materials to provide us with cheap kind of processed goods. And that is a big problem. We're going to have to address that. People are going to have to wake up to that fact. And people do like good food. They do like to have a diversity of shopping. And whatever you say...
Well, we've got to crack on. Let me tell you that, people actually like their food to be cheap more than good. That's how it is, especially at the moment. But, hey, listen, good luck to you. You keep up the good work. Don't you mind old fogies like me?
Well, we might be the same age, you never know. Thanks anyway. Okay.
Yeah, cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
The Tommy Boyd Breakfast Show. Back tomorrow morning from 7.
On Original 106.
Everybody wake up. The Tommy Boyd Breakfast Show.
On Original 106.
Breaking news, Emma. Workers at a Bristol-based insurance company are this morning reporting a really positive impact on their working relationships following a weekend team-building event they were forced to attend.
Right.
Delighted event organiser and human resources manager Howard Clarkson said, "This is a bit of a first for us, and I gather for any team-building event ever in the UK. We're absolutely amazed." Dave Atkins from Accounts said, shooting the sales team in the head with paint pellets was just what I personally needed. I feel more able to cope now with any admin problems that may crop up. IT specialist Carla Fitzallen also learned a lot from the activities. Falling backwards into the arms of a teammate standing behind me really showed me that there is no I in team. The weekend-long outward-bound event also featured team building, a bridge across an imaginary river using planks of wood and milk crates. Sales executive Brian Schmidt said, I found the bridge building exercise highly informative. The next time I need to metaphorically bridge a metaphorical river, I'll be sure to get my metaphorical teammates to help me. It wasn't quite as enjoyable as leading my blindfolded manager around an obstacle course, though. That exercise is going to be so useful when I come to write my next PowerPoint.
Nice.
The survey itself was also a human resources triumph, with 100% of the delegates returning their forms. Human resource manager Clarkson said, I really don't know how we managed to get such a good response. We usually get less than half the forms back, although they might need to think about a spelling away day. Many of their forms said the training was really worth it and so useful. Ever been on a training weekend, Sean?
I've been on like an induction weekend where you're inducted to welcome to the company type thing.
Have you? Where was that?
Oh, that was the BBC. And God, it was dull.
Was it?
Yeah, it was, yeah,
Oh,
really,
awful.
really. It was one of those things where you think I could be contributing at work right now and actually doing something, except I'm here.
Was it a Saturday?
I think it's actually like a Wednesday to Friday. It was like a 3-day thing.
Wednesday to Friday.
You got put up in the Hilson Hotel in Edgware Road.
It's all right, isn't it? Go shopping.
This is where your licence fee's going.
Yeah.
And this was a thing they brought in. And the problem was, it kicked in if you were given a full-time contract. So all your freelance cameramen who'd worked at the BBC for 20 years and who had then been put onto a freelance full-time contract suddenly were on this induction telling them how the BBC works and how wonderful an organisation it is. And I'd already been there for about 3 or 4 years at the time as well.
Did you know anybody there? Besides...
I don't think I did, no, because they were drawn from right the way across.
And what sort of things did you do then over 2 days and nights?
They showed us how radio studio works, which was nice.
Oh, so it's kind of a training thing as well?
No, it was kind of... They showed you a bit of radio, a bit of TV, a bit of online, and then they did a lot of...
what did they try to impress on you about how the BBC is special?
How it's a special organisation and how it's very creative and how wonderfully...
You know, when you're at
together.
school, everybody, when you're at school, you're taught physics and maths, and in history you're taught one thing and one thing only, and that's that the Romans built straight roads so that nobody could ambush them round a corner. That's the only thing. Anyway, you're taught that. But the things you really learn are in the playground. That's where you learn how to look after yourself, how to make friends, how to deal with enemies, how to deal with bigger boys, you know, all that. You learn things that really are useful in real life, in the playground. And on these induction weekends, and I've been on plenty too, what I found was, what you really benefited by was getting smashed with them in the evening. Go to the bar in the evening and bond and really have a laugh and hook up and do, you know, and just get to know what people are really like, what football team they support, and how many kids they've got. And those kind of things are kind of like the reaching out into other people's hearts and souls. But sat there on school desks, Sean?
Or in the BBC,
more or less.
Yeah,
with pens and blotting paper provided.
They always bring out the big kind of A2 sheet of paper and give someone a big permanent marker, and you have to brainstorm something, don't you?
Yeah.
You been on any, Emma?
Yeah, I've been on loads. Krypton Factor type activities, as I call them, you know, as you mentioned. And making Lego, that's one that sticks out. Ridiculous. Waste of time.
Has anybody ever come across one of these weekends that they felt benefited them enormously? Like this thing, which I believe is possibly fictional. I might be having my leg pulled here about this first ever working team building event, which actually was a success and everybody thought they benefited from it. But no, Sean? No. None of the ones you've been on, Emma?
All rubbish.
All rubbish. And yet some people are making a few bucks.
Yes, someone's...
Yeah, I think it's cost a fortune for the companies.
I hope we haven't offended you if you run team building events. Not.
The Tommy Boyd Breakfast Show. Back tomorrow morning from 7.
On Original 106.
Everybody